This video is brought to you by LogRocket, the front-end performance monitor that records videos of user sessions along with logs and network data, surfacing problems and revealing the root cause of every bug. Try it today at logrocket.com/YT.
Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to be creating a drop-down component in React. So let's begin. Essentially this video I'm just going to be showing you how to create a singular drop-down component and also a multi-select drop-down component. And it's fairly simple. What we're going to be using for this is just pretty much basic React. We're going to be doing some synthetic events such as like onClick, and then we're just going to be handling those onClicks to make sure we can store data. So to begin, I've got this create React app on the left. I've got a standard setup going on here. I've pretty much installed create React app, and I've essentially just added Node Sass so I can use a Node Sass within here. So in the style sheet, I have just a basic reset and just one mixin, and then I've got some styling for the drop down. And we're going to be going ahead and using BEM for naming convention in here, and we're going to be having a wrapper, a header, a list, and then an item. It'll make much more sense. I don't want to dwell too much on the CSS side of things because I want to get into the React code essentially. So if we close that down, let's go ahead and just create a drop down in here. Dropdown.js, we can import React, and once we've imported React, we can just go ahead and create a function called dropdown, and we want to take in a title, items, and multi-select equals false. From here we need state from React, so I'll say use state, and then open to see if the drop-down menu is open or not, and we'll give that false by default. Once we've done that, we'll go ahead and pull in use state. Likewise, we need to do the same here for the selection. So we'll say selection, set selection, and we'll just give that an array. That array is just going to hold our items. So if we select something, and if it's a singular one, we're just going to have one object in there with our properties and values. If we have a multi-select, we're going to store multiple items in there. So you may have created a drop-down component before, whether you've been using jQuery or just standard JavaScript, and you may have run into the issue of clicking outside of your component. And this is quite an annoyance for some people. And I will demonstrate this, but first of all, let's just continue on. We need a function here called handle on click, and that's going to take in an item, and we'll just leave that for now. What I want to do right now is just get onto the juicy part, so we'll start by creating our drop down. So we'll say dd wrapper, so drop down, then we'll have a div with a tab index of 0, so we can make sure this is as accessible as possible. Class name, we'll say dd header, give this a roll up button, and then we'll set on key press, we will set toggle. Toggle doesn't exist at the moment, but what I'm giving here is I'm saying give me the opposite by using this exclamation mark. I'm saying give me the opposite of what's already stored in state. We'll come to toggle shortly. Next, I want to do an onClick with toggle, and then I'll close that out. So once we've got this, so let's see, onClick, let's put this down here. And if you aren't using something like ESLint or Prettier, do take a look at those because they are very, very helpful, and I recommend them very much. And there's many ways to install this, whether you just do it through a shell file or you install it directly into the project. What I've done here, I've just installed it directly into the project, so I find that benefits me a lot more. So like when I did a save then, it gives me the ability to it makes the code pretty essentially. So let's just go ahead and do dd, let's call this dd header underscore title, and then in here we'll have a p tag dd header title bold, and we'll pass the title in there that comes down as a prop. So let's give that a save. Toggle does not exist yet. That's fine. We can go ahead and create that. And in a second, once we've done this, let's take a look at the current state of the application. Okay, so now we've got that out of the way. We've got the handle on click. Let's go ahead into app and remove this, and I'll just say drop down. And then what we can do, we can pull in the drop down from here. So I'll say input drop down from, I'll say drop down because it's next to it. And one thing we need to do is export this, or else you will get drop down is now exported from. And let's just export this as default. So export default drop down. Let's give that a refresh. Make sure you're importing it as a default also. So there we are, we've got something that kind of resembles a drop down. We still have to do a bit more work in drop down. So now what we want to take a look at is we want to hold the items, and we also want to have some sort of action where we can open and close the drop down. So if we go ahead and do dd header, and I've tried my best to make this as generic as possible so you can put whatever you like in here, and all it really does is it gives you, multiple, the ability to select multiple or a singular action. So I'll close this. So that's basically saying here, is the drop down open? If so, show close. If not, show open. See if that works. There we are, we can click it. So now what we want to do, we want to check whether the drop down is open. And we can see here we've got the div that corresponds with this one, which is the header. So we basically want to say, if it's open, go ahead and give me a list. And that list is going to be named dd list. And then we're going to say items.map item, and we're going to say inside there, what we want to do, we want an list item with a class name of dd list item. And then, as always with React, we need a key, and I'm going to pass down item.id, and we'll get some data very shortly. In here, we're going to have a button, because within this list item, I want to encapsulate the entirety of the row. So horizontally, we're going to have a button that encapsulates everything, and from in that button, we're going to have like the value, such as whatever you pass down in your data. That could be a name, a title. Let's build this into a movie store. So let's rent some movies. I'll put some movies in here. So on click, the action I want to do is I want to pass up handle on click. I'm going to pass in the entire item. So if we close it out, we can do span item.value. We can copy that, and then one thing we do have to look at shortly is, have we selected this particular item? So for now, let's just put selected. See how we're doing here. We've got a bit of an error. Cannot read map of undefined. That's good. One thing you could potentially do if you want to render this and have some sort of default for items, you can just give that default here. So it'll just essentially be empty, but you won't get that error. So now what we've got to look at, I need some data. So I'm going to pull in some data from earlier, and I'm just going to paste in items there. And seeing as though we have some props for dropdown, we have a title, items, and multi-select. Multi-select is not used currently, but we'll look at that very shortly. But with the ability to have a dropdown, see if I make this a little bit bigger. So we now have the ability to have a dropdown. So what we want to do, we want to give it a title. So we'll say select movie, and then we'll say items. We'll pass the items down. And right now we're not going to use a multi-select. So as you see, the prop for title is now on the left, and we have 3 movies. Brilliant. So now we want to handle the selected. So how do we do that in React? Well, there's many ways, but I found a nice clean way to be having a function that essentially just checks if we have that item in state. So let's go ahead and do that. So we can say if the selection, so selection, remember, is what's in the selection that the user selected. So let's say .sum. And if you're not aware of what .sum does, it basically just tests that at least one element in the array in this case being selection, passes a condition that we're going to pass. So we're going to say if current's that iteration in the array. We're going to say current. We're going to get the current ID is equal to id.item.id. And if we just go back and look at the items, we can see we have 3 IDs. We're using these as the key, and we're also storing these items. So if someone clicks on this, we're going to store the entire object in the array. So when we're looping over, we can check that the selection of the user, say for example it could be the prestige, we're going to pass in this object, it's going to have the ID of 2 and the value. And if it's not in the array of the selection, we're going to add it in there. If it happens to be in the array of the selection, we're not going to do anything because we don't want multiple items in there unless we're going to be using multiple selects, but then we're going to be looking for uniques anyhow. So let's jump ahead with this and we'll say if there's no multi-select, then just add the item in and we'll set the state with one item. And that's essentially saying if we don't have the item already in state, go ahead and add that item. But when it jumps past this condition and it's like, yeah, true, it's not in state, or the selection being here, we're going to go down here and say, okay, it's not a multi-select, so let's just add that one item in, that's fine. But now we have to say else if. Else if, are we a multi-select? Well, if we are a multi-select drop-down, we want the ability to select 3 different ones. And the way I'm going to do this is set selection. And as mentioned earlier, I did try making this very generic, so none of this equates to the data. It's essentially just the selection, open, and a toggle. So right now we have a selection here where we can just say spread the current selection, which is the items in there. So if it's a multi-select, we've bypassed and we already have the condition to know that it's true, that it's unique. We have a unique value, and where in this particular condition, if it's a multi-select, we can add multiple items to the selection. So set selection, we're going to spread in the current selection, and then we're going to add the new item. And that's good, but what happens when it's not unique? So this is checking for the uniqueness of the item that gets passed up. Remember, it's just an object like this. But what happens if we find that item? Well, what do we want to do? Well, maybe we want to remove it, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll say selection after removal. And we'll redefine or keep a copy of the selection that we currently have. And then what we want to do, we're not going to modify the existing state or do any sort of mutation on there. So we're just going to clone it. So we have selection after removal now. I'm going to say selection after removal dot filter, and we're going to filter out our item that's being passed in. So we'll say current.id is not equal to item.id. Give that a save, and then we'll say set selection. Pass in the selection into a new array with selection after removal. So now in here we expect to basically figure out that we know we already have the item in the selection, and the users click that with the intention to remove it from the selection. So we're going to go ahead and do that using filter. So one thing we can do is let's just test this out. Let's see how we're doing right now. So we need to go back down here where it says selected, and we do have to figure out, well, is it in the selection or is it not? Because we don't want to be doing this for the selection. So let's just create another function that just checks if that particular item's in the selection. So we'll say is item in selection. We'll pass in the entire object, which is the item, and then we'll say if selection.sum. Again, we're going to use .sum, and as it says here, determines whether the specified callback function returns true for any element of an array. Well, what does that even mean? Well, as mentioned previously, it just tests at least one element in the array passes the condition. So we'll say current again. Current.id is equal to item.id. So we're saying, is there an item in the selection that essentially, well, matches what we're passing in. And I'll show you can probably use find for this as well. So let's go ahead and use find. Selection is going to check that at least one condition, at least one element in the array. Whereas if you use find, it'll just check, it'll find the first one and be like, yep, I found it, good. So let's do return true. And then here, actually we don't even have to do that, we can just return false there. So let's go ahead and use this item in selection, and we'll come down here. Let's have a look. We'll say is item in selection, and we'll pass in the item. And if it's in the selection, we can just say selected. Feel free to go in and modify this as you wish. Maybe add some font or awesome icons in there, or your own pre-set of icons, or whatever it may be, or even just change the text. So it's looking pretty good, right? Let's go ahead and test. So I'll pull this over. I'll say open. Oh, that's looking good. We can select one item. That is good. So what happens now if I pass multi-select? Does this work as we intend? So that should refresh. We've selected one, selected two. Perfect. So we have a singular and a multiple select drop down working perfectly right now, which is exactly what we intended. But what happens if I click out of here? You'd expect it to close, right? Well, it doesn't, and that's kind of troubling. And also we didn't check, can we deselect this? We can, perfect, that's brilliant. So we have the option to use a singular drop down and a multi-select drop down. We could include both in here if we wish, and you could use the selection for two. So if we just drop this down, get rid of the multi-select. Let's say, okay, for this one I want the Prestige, for this one I want Blade Runner and Pulp Fiction. There, it works absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to put that back, and I want to show you this one particular issue where we can't deselect here. So there is a way to fix this, so don't get discouraged just yet. What we want to do is there's a brilliant package that you can essentially add into your package.json, or you can just do yarn or npm install, or yarn add, and we do import on click outside. And this is a very well-known problem within the development community. Clicking outside a drop down has been around for years, and it's always a troubling one to do. So go ahead and grab this package, react-onclickoutside, give that a save, and now to fix that issue, we can do dropdown.handle-click-outside, and we'll pass that set open false. And that's just basically going to allow us to click outside, but there is one thing that we also have to do. One more thing. So we'll say const click outside config, and this is all predetermined and preset from the package above. It's pretty much just modify your component name and just include it in here. So set handle click outside equals, well, just pass this the dropdown.handle click outside. And now what we have to do, we have to essentially wrap this dropdown component. So if you've looked at stuff like patterns, like higher order components, and maybe you're coming from a different background where you look at decorating certain maybe objects, or you've got a predetermined class that goes through another class, or whatever it may be, we're essentially just decorating this, which in React terms, we're using a higher order component. And I'm going to basically encapsulate this drop down with the onClick outside. So to do this, we just say onClick outside, and we pass in the config. Wonderful. So let's take a look now. I want the Prestige, but you know what? I don't want to click the close button anymore, so just click outside. It works absolutely perfect. So that's a great little package. Go ahead and check that out, and we've essentially just built a singular and multi-select drop down very, very quickly, and it's very modular. You can go ahead and modify this how you wish, pull this into your header, footer, menu, sidebar, whatever it may be. Let me know your thoughts on this one, what you would improve, or different ways to handle certain selections, how you have managed to get around the annoyance of clicking outside a drop down. But that's me done. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, remember to, like, share, give every bit of feedback you have, share with the community, share how you've done these particular components yourself, how you've handled these problems. And yeah, hopefully you have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching. I shall see you in the next one.